Hello, everyone. It's Danielle and Ariel, the Millennial Moguls from your NexGen team. And we are so excited today to sit here and bring you a topic about mental health. As you know, mental health used to be a very taboo topic, but now it's actually the forefront of wellness. So we have conversations from work-life balance, self-care, to even speaking about therapy openly, and realize that mental health is just as important as physical health and spiritual health. We're so excited today to have Jessica Barquet of Anchored. She is an LPC therapist to speak about different things that are going on, especially with new occurring events, and just to make sure we have our mental right, especially in the focus of anxiety. So let's introduce our guest, Jessica Barquet. Want to go ahead and drop anything and tell our guest about yourself?
Yes, I'm Jessica Barquet. I'm based here in Thibodaux, Louisiana. I had got my master's in education and school counseling from Nicholls State University. And so I've been in this field for quite a while now, maybe an average about 10 years. The first half of that was definitely more focused on community-based agencies and going into the homes and working in a more of a clinical setting. But the last couple years, I have been doing my own private practice here in Thibodaux. So that's about it on that.
That's exciting. Yes. We just, really just wanted to talk about the mental. The mental is a muscle that needs to be worked and relaxed just like anything else. Mm-hmm. So our first question is, when it comes to dealing with different emotional issues, what's the difference between anxiety and stress?
Yes, so that's a very common question, actually, that a lot of people, they don't really understand the difference, and they don't really understand the similarities, because a lot of it is highly correlated. The symptoms are very similar. You have fatigueness, irritability, lack of sleep, or the quality of sleep is not as effective. So a lot of people think, oh, this is just normal because it happens so often, and they don't really take account of the impacts that it takes over a period of time. So what it is that the anxiety itself is when you're experiencing that at a heightened level and for a prolonged period of time, especially when those concerns or those threats aren't even there. And so you'll find that people are in an anxious state more often than not.
Right. And that makes complete sense because they're so similar. Yeah. So it's like, okay, maybe it's just this, maybe it's just that, but no, it's actually more anxiety, of course, which leads to stress. Mm-hmm. So let's, so focus on anxiety first, I think is definitely a priority. So how would you advise people to deal with anxiety?
First, just breathe. A lot of people don't realize they go around with everything they're experiencing throughout the day. We're not even breathing effectively. A lot, like you said earlier in the introduction, a lot of our stress and anxiety is affected by our physical health as well. So if our mental health is impacting our physical health, sometimes we just got to know our physical symptoms. Is our heart racing? Are we breathing? Are our muscles tense? And so checking in with yourself physically throughout the day is effective. It adds to that self-awareness that I'm going to speak on later on, but definitely just breathing, taking those deep breaths throughout the day, exhaling strongly, and remaining grounded if possible. So mindfulness, staying focused on the present moment and not, I guess, fast forwarding into the future and thinking of all the future things like, oh my gosh, I got this to do. We find our mind racing a lot. So just trying to ground ourselves as much as possible, focusing on the things that we can see, the things that we can hear, smell, taste. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then a lot of times just reflection is a great way to kind of be more of a preventative way to decrease the amount of anxious symptoms that we feel. So I encourage my clients a lot to kind of reflect on the moments when your anxiety was at its peak. So after the moment has passed, or after an anxiety attack, which some people do suffer from anxiety, I tell them and I encourage them to look back at that moment and say, okay, what was some of those core emotions attached with that? What were you feeling? Were you angry? Were you scared? Were you lonely? Were you sad? So kind of attaching that emotion to all those symptoms that you were going through. And then once we do that, it opens the door to kind of identify our need in that moment. So like, what was it that you were needing? What did Sarah need in that moment? Whether it was from herself, whether it was from her support systems, partners, friends, just identifying those needs. And that's where that reflection component really helps out with preventing as much or decreasing even the amount of anxious moments and experiences that we have.
So, you said a lot.
Yeah.
Good, good.
Oh, this is so good. Oh gosh, this is so good. Y'all already know. I'm gonna tell you, make sure you have subscribed and you have gone on ahead and like this video. We're just getting into the conversation on today, but it's getting gooder and gooder. That's not a word, but yes, it is. It's getting gooder and gooder. And I'm so glad to be able to have Jessica here. So a few ways that reflection piece is like, I'm like, wait a minute, I need my notepad so I can be I can be writing these things down. What are a few tips to help reduce anxiety within your life? I know you just gave breathing, reflection. Is there anything else that maybe you can give to our audience, or maybe you even give to your clients that can be able to help reduce within our lives?
Oh, definitely. So this next question is something that I'm really excited to answer, because this is what basically the foundation of my practice is with my clients. I'm a big self-care advocate. So that is foremost the foundation that I set with all my clients. Because no matter what walk in life or what circumstance brings you to therapy, having that relationship with yourself is vital. And like you said earlier, just reflecting on having the ability to even self-soothe, because at the end of the day, we can't control what our partner does, what our friends do, our family even. All we can control is how we react, our responses to those things. And so I have came up with like these little, I call them SelfCare Rules, that I share with all my clients who come in. And I would love to share that with y'all today. Some of the rules that I kind of help them implement or learn to implement daily. So the first one on there is acknowledging my mistakes and planning to do better. So this is a big one that I feel like a lot of us, we hold on to that shame, that regrets, the mistakes that we've made, and it becomes a weight. And we carry that weight, and it can add to some of that stress, some of that anxiety that we're often experiencing. And so when I explain to my clients about self-care, I let them know that it's like a scale. A balance scale, because it's all about balance, right? And so you have your peace on one side, and then you have your life and you on the other side. And so if you're all the way down here, you're further and further away from your peace. And so the idea is to create that balance. Yes, life goes up and down, and some days we are down here, but it's how long do we stay down there? That's the key. So if we're holding on to all those mistakes since childhood, since high school, since early adulthood, then we aren't letting go, and that is always here weighing us down. So that's why I put that down as the number one rule, is to try to start looking back and acknowledging some of those mistakes, and then making a plan to do better. Just be intentional about, how can I do this better? That's the solution aspect of it. Another rule is to stop worrying what other people think. This one, yeah, I know this is one that I know a lot of us suffer with sometimes, and maybe in more areas than other areas. Like maybe when it comes to our career choices, we don't care what people think. But when it comes to how we parent our kids, which I find a lot of times young mothers or even older generation mothers, the influence of what other people think of how you should be raising your children, right? And you weigh that on, and it becomes like this guilt, and that mom guilt is so real. And a lot of people, a lot of young mothers, older mothers, first time or even second time, third time mothers, we suffer from that mom guilt, always thinking that, okay, I wonder if I'm doing this right. And so when we're holding on to those opinions of other people's, it can really weigh us down as well. And then identifying my values and beliefs. This one here is very crucial. It's that reflection component that we spoke of earlier. If you don't know your own values or your own beliefs, it's going to be kind of hard to make those choices in life and kind of even know what direction you're going into. And so we all have values and beliefs that have shaped us through the experiences that we have experienced. And so if we don't stay in tune with that, we never know how much we're growing, how much we've changed, because obviously the values we had in middle school are not the same values we have in high school or in college or in young adulthood. They shape and they shift. So staying in tune with that can definitely help you have a sense of direction of what's important to you. doing at least one thing for yourself each day. A lot of times we all wear many hats, whether it's through our jobs, the roles that we play in people's lives. And it's just finding that time to recharge, being intentional about even just doing something that makes you happy, making you feel productive, that's purposeful. That's often more times than not, we aren't doing those things. And so I like to encourage my clients to definitely try to start incorporating throughout their days and weeks, one thing at least for yourself each day. Because if you look at it on a 5-day working scale and over a month's period of time, that's 20 things that you're doing just for you in a month's time. Whereas we might be going every month doing maybe a few things for ourselves, and that's probably why we feel that discouragement and that defeat. It's because we're often not pouring into our own cup as much as we should. Mm-hmm. Not letting anyone treat us poorly. That is a very important rule to the self-care in terms of setting boundaries. This is where learning how to incorporate those healthy boundaries is so important. When to say no, knowing your own limits when it comes to how often you should partake in certain things, or even when it comes to setting goals, financial boundaries, fitness and health boundaries. You can apply that in every area of your life. Yeah. And then acknowledging my efforts. I try to let them look at this as a way to not just hyper focus on all their flaws or their shortcomings, because that's so easy to do. As we go through our day-to-day life, we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't do this, or I can't believe I let this happen. And we just focus on all the ways that we're going wrong, that we lose sight of the many good things that we could be doing, the efforts that we are making. At least I showed up today, and just acknowledging those simple things. That acknowledgement can go a long way. And the last rule, being patient with myself. I think that is very important rule. It's last on the list, but it's definitely not the least important. Just like a baby takes time to form in the womb, from a grain of sugar as a size into a full grown baby, sometimes the things that we're going through and that we're developing and growing, it takes time to develop, and we can't do it prematurely, So those are basically the 7 self-care rules that I try to help my clients apply to their lives daily, weekly, and, help them identify their strengths and weaknesses when it comes to those things so that they can be more effective.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. I know we got to get to the next question, but I'm over here. I know this wasn't in our notes of the question, but I want to be able, is there a line? Because even with what you said, Jessica, as far as like, because some people are like, oh, I'm taking care of myself today. And you go out on a shopping spree, and we wasn't supposed to be going out there doing all that extra stuff. Is there, a line to say, hey, kind of give yourself a red flag to say, are you doing something out of, you feeling a certain way? Or how could that be? How can we be able to kind of know those signals?
Yes. Great question. Those red flags is something that I'm constantly having my clients refer back to, is because, okay, let's identify what was something that you could have did better in this situation, or what was a warning sign. So that's a great question as far as that reflection component. And that's why boundaries, when I talk to my clients about setting healthy boundaries, we talk about, okay, what are your limits? Before you get into any situation, know your limits. So if it's the shopping, maybe you do like to shop, and that's perfectly fine. That is a part of that self-care. That's something you enjoy, but just know your limits with it. Maybe say, okay, well, this week, maybe I only have about $80 to spend on myself. Put that $80 aside and say, okay, now I get to do whatever I want with this $80. So setting those strict boundaries, being intentional about it, is going to be very vital too, to stay in balance, because you want that balance.
That's good. That's good. Danielle, you want to take the next question?
So we focused on self-care, that balance and understanding. And after we've done all that, when should someone go see a therapist? Okay, they did the self-care, did that one time. Okay, you know what? I need some higher help. I need some licensed help. This might be something else that's going on.
Yeah. Yes. So I always tell people that it's never too early to go see a therapist. We all need therapy at some point of our life because we all experience those life stressors. Like I said, it's that scale. Life goes up and down. Sometimes it's good to, even before a crisis or a problem hits, to kind of learn to self-regulate, kind of learn how to heal from some of the things that we might not think that affected us in our childhood and our past, to go work on those things prior. But I see clients from the most simplistic issues to the most complicated and traumatic issues. So anywhere on that spectrum, you're allowed to go and get therapy. So you don't have to be, oh, I didn't experience this traumatic event, so I don't need therapy. I'm not qualified to go. I've heard that a lot as well. But no, preventative action is the best for your mental health. You don't want to wait till something bad happens. But if you are experiencing a lot of unmanageable symptoms of that stress, that anxiety, any depressive symptoms, you notice you're not enjoying the things that you used to like, you notice you're withdrawing more, you're in the slum more often than not, definitely those are your warning signs, your red flags to want to seek that help, or at least talk to somebody, but first and foremost, if you are experiencing any like suicidal ideations or thoughts of that nature, you definitely, that is a definite sign of you want to reach out to someone immediately, maybe even calling 911 or checking into your local emergency room. But those are definitely your red flags when wanting to seek therapy.
And those are great points, because oftentimes you think of going to therapist, okay, I'm at rock bottom, or okay, now it's becoming so manageable. But I'm glad you spoke about preventative measures, going to get back to wellness and stuff like that. It's not once you get there, there's stuff you can do to always prevent, so you don't have to go there. And I'm glad that you really brought that up. So when it comes to therapy and different therapists, what are the different type of therapists out there?
Oh, there's so many. So I'm a licensed professional counselor. So basically what that means to people who aren't familiar with the mental health field is it's like your general doctor to medicine. So instead of being an orthopedic surgeon or a pediatric doctor, I am a general counselor. So that's what your LPC is. Your licensed professional counselor deals with a spectrum of different things. I see individuals and I see couples, but we do have some specific therapists out there who specifically work with addiction, with marriage and family, with children. You can see a child therapist, even child trauma therapists. So it's even more specific. It can break it down as specific as it can be. Eating disorders. You have a therapist for all sorts of things, even sex therapists for some people who need that component within their marriage. You can be referred to a sex therapist, but you still have a marriage and family therapist that you see as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And then some therapists, we specialize in certain approaches and techniques. So I always advise people to go on psychologytoday.com. It's a great resource out there for finding a therapist that you feel like can meet your needs. You can put your zip code in there, read their profiles. You can even contact them right from there. Email, call them. But it's a great way to even read up on their specialties and things of that nature.
That's so good. So you guys got that information, okay? psychologytoday.com. I can't believe like we're almost to the end. Like, and I'm over here like, wait a minute, hold on. Like, this is so good. Before I get to the last question of how we can be able to get in contact with you, y'all know here at NexGen, as millennials, as we always have all the questions, okay? But does social media, I know we're in such a fast-paced life, even as millennials, we're millennial moguls here at NexGen. It's everything is within right here. Yes. And it's like, how can we as millennials, because we've been raised on it, or even those within another generation, not let this impact our life?
Yes. Again, those boundaries, right? A lot of times
boundaries.
That's the key word. I'm always throwing that around. I think my clients will probably get sick of me saying boundaries, but it's essential. It is really essential, because that phone that you just raised up, that is one of the common factors I see in couples a lot. When my couples come in, we're physically here, but then we're not, because mentally or emotionally, we're tied down to something else that's in our hand, and our partners are sitting here and they're waiting for that. They're feeling lonely even in the presence of another person. Does that make sense?
Ooh.
So setting those boundaries, I tell my couples all the time, like, okay, y'all are going out to dinner, right? Or if y'all are in the house having a date night, let's put those phones on silent, even for an hour or two. Like, let's just try to be intentional about it, because that intentionality, accountability, intentionality, and consistency are the key things that I wanted to tell y'all about, that really make the efforts that you're putting in create that balance, because without that, it's useless, it's purposeless, right? So if we're not being intentional, so setting that timer on to where, okay, we're shutting our phones off for 2 hours, it's just me and you, that's intentionality right there. And that's important. That makes that person feel heard and seen. And that's what it's all about, is just setting those boundaries.
That's so good. That's really good. And I love to take principles, because Danielle and I over here like, yeah, we in the single crowd right now. But it's but even within friendships, with relationships, I'm gonna take that same word of wisdom you just gave,
yes,
and be intentional. So this is so good. Y'all, I can't believe that we've come to the end, but I feel like we have to have her back. Okay. But I want to know, we want to know, how can people be able to reach you if they say, hey, this right here sounds amazing to me, I want to be able to get some help? How can people be able to reach you?
Yes, so definitely anyone can reach me at my email. It's jbanchored@gmail.com, or they can message me or follow me on my Anchored page. It's my business page on Facebook. And if they are residing in the state of Louisiana, I can provide therapeutic services. So if that is something you are interested in, you can definitely go on psychologytoday.com and find me on there, Jessica Barquet, and we could see about starting services. I am full right now until probably August or so. So there is like a little waiting list for that. But other than that, I would love to help anyone who is trying to reach out, or if I can't help them, trying to find them a resource that can.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. Oh, okay, y'all. Danielle, I'm raising my hand. Don't you think we should have her back right now?
Yes, definitely. Did you drop so many nuggets?
We're gonna have to pay for a session.
No, I appreciate it. It was an honor to just come and speak on that. I think a lot of people need to hear this.
Absolutely. I think, as Danielle and I were talking, as there are so many different things that our world is experiencing, just living everyday life, it's like we need this. So before we go, we love here at NexGen that our guests, they leave a word of encouragement. I know you left the resources, but we here, as we give advice, as we give things to be able to help, whether wellness or financial, what is one piece of encouragement that you can be able to give to our audience?
Just one? Okay. So based on what you said,
come on. I'm
just to piggyback off of what you closed with earlier, I feel like a little word of wisdom, and maybe that can help anyone, whether they're single or in a relationship, is drop that comparison factor that we always do as people, as individuals. We're always comparing ourselves to the next relationship. Why my relationship doesn't look like this, or why why I'm not advancing in my career like this person's advancing in their career. And it's easy, like you said, those cell phones, social media, comparing ourselves to people that we see, or relationships that we see, or anything. Really, that comparison factor can be very debilitating, and it can definitely be adding to that stress and anxiety that we're not good enough. And so I want to leave everyone with that token, is that don't compare yourself to the next person. Just be you, identify your needs, and create that balance.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, there y'all. Any last words, my love? Oh, this was so good. Oh, this is so good.
Like I said, I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch and take some notes. In my life. We're conducting the interview, but trust and believe, we're absorbing, and we will be implementing this in our lives as well.
Yes.
Definitely looking forward to having you back, and
thank you
for your time and all your everything that your information. It really has been so good.
Of course, anytime. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you again. All right, family. Until next time, we thank you. Keep shining, keep on winning. Make sure you have subscribed to the NexGen channel. We have amazing content from financial to emotional wellness to just being able to be encouraged and inspired. So we have a little bit of everything on this channel, but everything you need. So until next time, we thank you guys. And I can't wait. Y'all, I got to go back and rewatch this so I can take some notes. It's going to be good. All right, hang out, guys, in the chat. We'll see you next time.